I want to take a minute to give thanks. Not to friends, not to family, not to your grandma for the 20 bucks she gave you out of nowhere. Oh no, my friends. Oh no. Today, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to Starfield. And I'm not even being sarcastic, I'm dead serious. Because while some games aim for the stars, Starfield reminded me what it feels like to burn up on re-entry into the atmosphere. Starfield looked me in the eyes, smiled, said everything was gonna be alright, and then grabbed my nipples and twisted them with the grip of 1,000 gorillas, still smiling at me as I groan in agony. So let's dive into all that, if and you don't mind. I went into Starfield expecting magic, Bethesda's first new IP in like 25 years, a space RPG from the studio that made Morrowind, Oblivion, and Fallout 3. It was like they were whispering sweet nothings into my ear. It just works. And like an idiot, I believed them. For about 3 months leading up to the release, they had me on all fours begging, and I mean begging, to see the game in my Steam library sooner rather than later. And then the game came out, and I've talked about this before, but I felt like a dog with no treats. Just a dog with no treats, man. But Starfield just didn't fail to meet expectations. It nuked them from orbit. It lowered the bar so aggressively that now, when I boot up other games and I look at the minimap or the game map, I'm just grateful that it doesn't look like Google Earth, like a prototype for Google Earth in 2004 or some shit. I guess I should say it nuked my expectations. I can't speak for everybody else. But what I'm trying to say is that I have learned a very valuable lesson since September of 2023. And that lesson is that I should never let my excitement and hype get the best of me. Sure, I let it get the best of me sometimes. And if you've watched my streams, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I am weak, I admit it. I have my moments of weakness, but I'm certainly better now than I was before. If you knew me before Starfield came out, you would absolutely not recognize me. Todd could have told me to look in my pocket for a free piece of candy, and I probably would have turned out every one of my pockets inside out, baby, drooling in anticipation for just a morsel. Just one little morsel, Todd. Let's take a moment to talk about something I didn't expect to say out loud, and that is that I am thankful for Starfield. Not in the sense that it was a great game, but because it taught me something very important about expectations and how they can shape the way we experience games, especially the ones we wait years, sometimes decades for. I came into Starfield with excitement. It was Bethesda's first new IP in forever, and I imagined everything that they told us, a massive, ambitious space RPG. And what I got was a very safe, very slow, very muted version of what I'd hoped for. Starfield permanently rewired my brain. It reminded me that even in 2025, it is possible to make a game with the emotional depth of a wet napkin and the exploration mechanics of a PowerPoint presentation. The thing is, it's not even that Starfield is a complete failure. It functions. It has systems, it has content, but none of it feels like it's trying to push forward. And in a weird way, that's why I'm thankful. Starfield permanently lowered my expectations, not just for Bethesda games, but for AAA games in general. It made me realize how often I walk into these big releases with this internalized hype built over months or even sometimes years of dev diaries, marketing, cinematic trailers, and none of it ever reflects what I was expecting. It just completely disconnects from what you thought it would be. And when Starfield came out, it was the first time I think I have felt that disconnect so clearly, like I was being handed a checklist instead of an adventure. Since then, I've gotten way better. I say things like, "Where's the gameplay?" when watching new trailers or announcements. I know that I hype up remake rumors and all that sorts of stuff, but you guys have to understand that I was way worse. Way worse. 2 years ago, I would probably be making 5 videos a day, updating on you guys on everything. Did Todd Howard buy new clothes? Did a Bethesda employee find a $5 bill on the ground at the gas station? I was insane. I played a lot of Starfield, more than I probably should have. I kept thinking, maybe it opens up later. Maybe it gets better. I was patient. I joined the factions, did the story, explored the planets, upgraded my ship, and there were moments, small, brief moments where I could almost see what it wanted to be, but those moments were super rare and they were always interrupted by something that pulled me out. The loading screens, the static environment, no real discovery, the emptiness everywhere, even in big cities. Like I've talked about this before, you guys know. If you're watching this video, you know. It wasn't about uncovering the unknown. It was about fast traveling from one beige room to another, one Skittle planet to another, talking to people who didn't even seem to care that I was there, and after a while, I stopped caring I was there too. That feeling stuck with me, not just disappointment, but a sort of reset. It changed how I look at game announcements now. When I see a flashy trailer, I don't assume the final product is gonna look anything close to that or feel anything close to that. And I know that's like a duh, but you know, for me, it's been hard. Starfield forced me to recalibrate my expectations, not in a bitter way, but in a realistic one. I'm not chasing the perfect game anymore, like I have been for 20 years. I'm looking for the interesting ones, the ones that surprise me, even if they're small, messy, unpolished. Some people might see this video as a negative video, or yet another video about me just hating on Starfield. I see this video as a different perspective. Don't get me wrong though, I still hope that one day Starfield will have a turnaround on the magnitude that No Man's Sky had. I really hope that comes true. Starfield also made me look back at older Bethesda games with a much clearer perspective. Games like Morrowind and Oblivion, like they weren't perfect, but they had a certain spark, something that felt handcrafted, strange, bold. They took risks, and even when those risks didn't pay off, they still left an impression. I've been doing my first Morrowind playthrough ever, and it has opened my third eye. I have ascended. I can levitate now. If I try really hard, I can do that. I see Bethesda games now through an entirely different lens since playing Morrowind. Compared to games like Morrowind, Oblivion, Fallout 3, Starfield feels so cautious, like it was designed not to fail rather than to be fun. And maybe that's a part of a larger problem with AAA development right now. Maybe so. So much money and time gets poured into these projects that they have to be safe to justify the investment. They have to cater to absolutely everybody. And that's fine, but you shouldn't hurt the larger audience in the process. But in that process, they lose the edge that makes a game memorable. So when I say I'm thankful for Starfield, I don't mean I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I never wanted myself to not enjoy it. I mean, I'm thankful for the clarity it gave me. It was like stepping outside of the hype cycle for the first time and really asking, what do I actually want from these games? And I realized that I'm not looking for infinite planets or photorealistic graphics. That all sounds amazing on paper, but at the end of the day, we just want to feel something. I just want to have fun, dude. Like, it's the same thing with TV shows. If you start watching a TV show and it's boring, it's boring. You turn it off. I'm sick of paying so much money for games just to turn it off 20 hours into it. You know, I've refunded so many games over the last decade. Probably thousands of games I've refunded. Maybe not thousands, but at least a couple hundred. But now, when I play a game like Morrowind or any older game or a small indie game, I appreciate it way more. I don't take the details for granted. I notice when a town has characters who feel like they actually live there. I notice when dialogue feels like it was written by a person who understands nuance and not just a quest marker machine. I notice when exploration is built around curiosity instead of just filling in a fog of war map. Starfield didn't give me that, but it reminded me how much I value it when it's there. I think the game made me truly feel what it means to take a lot of details for granted. And a lot of people might say all these little things that I'm talking about are corny, like little details or nuance in dialogue or exploration, but if they weren't there, you would notice them. And that's what makes games fun. Games are supposed to boost your ego and make you feel accomplished. Starfield didn't do that. It's also helped me, and it might help you too, to let go of this idea that Bethesda is going to be the same studio forever. The truth is, a lot of people who made those earlier games great aren't even there anymore. The design philosophy has changed. Todd Howard is still leading the charge, and he's a great guy. I think Todd is more of a net positive for that company than more people think. But the stuff that defined Bethesda in the early 2000s, it feels like it's been replaced by something more corporate, procedural, more risk averse. That's not necessarily evil. It's just the natural progression of a company growing into a massive publisher-owned entity. But for me, this is something where I have to adjust my future approach when it comes to future games with Bethesda. I'm not going to be all doom and gloom, of course, when it comes to future games. Of course, I'm going to be excited. I'm not going to change much in terms of how I make videos or how I talk about Bethesda or any other studio for that matter. I think this is just a good perspective to have on the back of my mind, and it might help you too. I'm still going to play The Elder Scrolls 6 when it eventually comes out, but I am going in with completely different expectations. I'm not expecting another Skyrim. I'm not expecting to be blown away. I'm hoping for something good, something functional, maybe something fun, right? The bare minimum. But I'm not waiting for Bethesda to revolutionize the genre again, because Starfield proved that they might not be that studio anymore. And honestly, that's okay. That's fine. They don't have to revolutionize anything. Other developers are picking up that torch in different ways. We've got a lot of options, and that's something to be hopeful about. But I will always be a Bethesda fan. Don't worry. Sometimes you need a game like Starfield to remind you of what actually matters to you as a player. Not the tech, not the marketing, not the buzzwords, but the feeling it gives you. And when that's not there, you notice it. Sticks out like a sore thumb. You start looking for that feeling in other places. You start seeking out games that don't need to be massive, they just need to be made with intention. Sorry the video got all corny. So to wrap it up, in a strange roundabout way, I am thankful for Starfield because it helped me realign. It helped me stop chasing the dream of the next big thing. Whoa, the next big game. And it made me start appreciating what's right in front of me. Morrowind. Play Morrowind. Gotcha. This whole video was actually just an advertisement for you to play Morrowind. Gotcha. Gotcha. Get baited. I'm just kidding. But yeah, thank you, Starfield. So anyway, if you liked the video, like, comment, let me know what you think. Let me know if expectations is something you've had to manage over the years. Subscribe to me. That's a big deal. If you do that, I'll kiss you on the cheek. You choose which cheek. Don't care. Anyway, this is weird. I'll see you in the next video. See ya.